Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishimat Shila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Astottara Sarashishimat Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada, and all our Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. So today we've reached the 8th day of our Kartik Parikrama. It's actually the 7th day of our walking Parikrama, but it's the 8th day of Kartik. And yesterday we crossed the Jamuna into the eastern forests, and we went to Lohavan, and we saw Dauji, and we went to Mahavan, where is the Brahmandgat and Gokul and Raval. So we heard about those pastimes. So I have a correction to make about Gokul. I said that on the altar at Gokul there was Mother Yashoda, and I mentioned Lord Narayan. I was understanding that there were shellograms of Lord Narayan on the altar, just as Nanda Baba had worshipped the shellogram, Lord Narayan, in his household activities. And I also thought that there was a Narayan Shila on the altar. But yesterday I was speaking to our dear Uma Didi, and she was telling me that no, there is no Narayan Shila on the altar. The very large, darkish personality behind Nanda and Yashoda is, of course, Sri Baladev Prabhu. He dominates the altar. And then in front of him is Nanda Baba and Yashoda, very large figures. And in front of them, quite small, is Balagopal in a swing between Nanda Baba and Yashoda. So those are the 4 principal deities in Gokul. They have a number of altars in that Nanda Bhavan, in that place. So perhaps I was remembering another Narayan Shila was in another one of those altars that are there. But Narayan is not on that central altar, which was what I had said yesterday. So I just want to make that correction today, very clear who are the deities in Gokul. So now today we're going on a very intimate parikrama again. We're going locally, and just like the other day we went to Sevakunj and Imlital and Radha Damodar and Sringaravat, which were incredibly intimate, sweet, confidential pastime places. And today is the same. Today we're going to Dhira Samira. Samira means breeze, and Dhira means gentle. So even the breeze at this place of Dhira Samira became very gentle. And our dear Tapasvi Maharaj, he will describe the pastimes at Dhira Samira. And then we're going to visit Gopesvara Mahadeva, who's very close by. All of this area where we are is south of Gopinath Bhavan, perhaps a kilometer altogether or less, maybe 3/4 of a kilometer. We went the other day to Nidhuvan and Radha Raman and Radha Gopinath. So it's just after those 3 pastime places. We follow the winding road around, past Radha Gopinath, and we cross over a main busy Gopinath Bhavan, Gopinath Bazaar, and then we come near Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj's Gopinath Temple, and all these places that we're visiting today are in that proximity. So there's Dhira Samira and Gopesvara Mahadeva, and of course Vamsi-vata. So these are the most intimate of all the pastime places in Vrindavan. Although all the pastime places in Vrindavan are most intimate, but some stand out more prominently than others, and certainly Vamsi-vata, where we'll visit today, where the Ras Leela was performed in this Saradiya Mas, in this month of Saradiya. So, Shripad Bhakti Vedanta Tapasri Maharaj will now speak the glories of Dhira Samira. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Now we've come to Dhira Samira. Dhira Samira. Samir means wind, and Dhira means that it has almost become stationary. This place is right next to the bank of the Jamuna, near Vamsi-vata. Here also the Rasa Leela took place and many other pastimes. The speciality of this Leela that took place here between Radha and Krishna was so special that Jayadev Goswami, who was a great Rasik Vaishnav, a renowned scholar in the royal court of Bengal, a Bengali king, whose name was Maharaj Lakshman Sena. And Jayadev Goswami was hesitant even to write this Leela in his Geet Govind. Actually, Geet Govind means Song of Govinda, and it's probably one of the most celebrated poems in India. I've even seen in the West, people have translated this and got so many prizes. It's a very special poem that Jayadev Goswami has written, immortalizing the sacred love of Krishna with his beloved consort Radha. So this Geet Govinda is based on the Rasa Leela during the spring season. So we're talking about Geet Govinda because Dhira Samira is intimately connected to Geet Govind. In fact, the bhajan, when we come here with Gurudev, we sing a bhajan which is directly out of Geet Govinda about Dhira Samira. Jayadev Goswami identifies Krishna's favorite lover. You see, he wrote this in the 12th century, so this is way before Mahaprabhu came. And this Parakya Bhav was actually hardly known. It was completely unknown to most people. And Jayadev Goswami, he wrote about Srimati Radhika, because in the Bhagavat Purana, she remains pretty much unnamed directly as Radha. So he exclusively focuses on Radha and Krishna and their relationship throughout this poem. So it has that very unique speciality. Directly speaking about Radha, and not only just directly speaking about Radha, but their relationship, Radha and Krishna. Of course, actually the highest prem is Krishna Leela, and that is found in Madhurya Leela. But higher than Madhurya Leela is Adarya Leela, which is the wholesale distribution of Madhurya Prem. And this Madhurya Prem finds its highest expression in Srimati Radharani, because her essential nature is Mahabhav. So Gaura Leela is that Udarya Leela, which is the wholesale distribution of Krishna Prem. So to the degree that we surrender to Guru and Gauranga, to that extent we find ourselves in Vrindavan. In fact, you'll find in Srila Prabhupada's pranam mantras, it is said Gauravani. So that, what is that Gauravani? Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, or Gurudev, he explains that Gauravani was that he preached love and affection, this Vraj Prem, through Nam Sankirtan, Prem Nam Sankirtan. So Mahaprabhu, he has come to distribute this, and our Guru Varga are distributing this. So that's why we are so indebted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's bringing this Vraj Prem, this highest thing, Madhurya Leela, and he's distributing it. He's broke down the dams and distributed this to one and all. So in Vrindavan, the highest position is not held by Krishna, but by Radharani. So the Prayojan Tattva of the Gaudiya school is to engage in her service. Sri Gauranga and his eternal associates are the sole access. So in Gita Govinda, Jayadev Goswami is explaining the Leela, where Radha is craving for Krishna and searches for him in the forest. In the beginning part, there's a glorification of Sri Krishna, how he's the Das avatars. And then, starting in the second and third chapters, there is this description of how Radha is searching for Krishna, and eventually she finds him. So remember, we bring this back to Dhira Samira, this place where we are now. This is happening at this place. When she finds him there playing with other beautiful cowherd maidens, and she becomes, to begin with, she is relaxed and she's with Krishna and they're playing, but eventually she goes off in a huff, and she only to weep in remembrance of the glorious love that they had once shared in a previous Ras Leela. So now she's in separation. She's feeling angry, jealous, anger, man. And she leaves. And she's feeling so much sadness because that love that they once had, where they were completely united, one heart, that has all now changed. Krishna abandons the other maidens to search for Radha. So Krishna, he starts to feel some shame and guilt. He sees Radha leaving. He understands what's happening, but he feels some shame to say anything to her, so he doesn't say anything. But he's unable to find her in the dense forest. At that point, Radha's friend takes up the role of a mediator. So there's like a Dutiya Sakhi, that a Manjari is there, the go-between between Radha and Krishna, going back and forth between them several times to report their avowed love for each other and coordinate a rendezvous. So there's this exchange that's going on between Krishna and Radha, between this messenger. So it's at this point this bhajan is sung, because this bhajan is essentially about Govinda. He's calling Radha, come, please come. So he plays his flute. And the messenger is telling Radha, oh, Krishna is playing his flute. He's calling you. And that the wind has even stopped. Everything has stopped, and he's remembering this place, Dhira Samira, where we had so much happiness together. Come to that place. So this Krishna's flute has 6 magical powers. 1, to bewilder one in the core of his heart. 2, to enslave others. 3, to stun them. 4, to attract them. 5, to make them give up their inherent nature. And 6, to destroy all opposing elements. So that's why the flute is called also the Mahamantra, because the flute is spellbinding, magical, and has a special kinship with the gopis. So Krishna's playing this flute, and this messenger is telling Radha, come on, don't be stubborn. This is your chance. Go and see Krishna. And beautifully also in Gita Govinda, Jayadev Goswami introduced Kamadev, who is basically divine love, prem, although invisible, shooting arrows between Radha and Krishna into their hearts, creating an experience of love as an irrepressible power to which basically they are both helplessly victim to. So this love, this prem, this between Radha and Krishna, is actually the underlying network, the underlying fabric of this book. So Radha, having convinced herself of Krishna's infidelity, she retreats into an internal state of emotional anger, of which there seems to be no cure. And that is called Man Bhajan Stali. So in this place, Man Bhajana Stali, which means the man, the anger, the place where Srimati Radhika exhibited this anger. So Krishna, even with his best flattery and his humor and logic and pitiful supplications, everything fails. There's no way that he can change this man that Srimati Radhika is feeling. So finally, Radhika's anger abates on its own accord, and she agrees to be alone with Krishna. You see, Krishna's condition is so dire. So Radha's obsession for Krishna is a kind of madness, because she is interpreting all the features of the forest, the natural features of the springtime forest, to be unbearable taunting of Kamadev. For Radha, the vines seem to be embracing the trees, and in turn horripilate with pleasure in the form of newly sprouted buds. So this Gita Govinda is a very special poem, and in this place, Dhira Samira, this is where ultimately Krishna was calling Radha to come back to. And undoubtedly the most famous verse of Gita Govinda is Krishna's desperate plea to Radha. He's pleading, "Oh my beloved, relieve me of Cupid's poison by decorating my head with the fresh buds of your feet." So it is said that Jayadev Goswami was overwhelmed with emotion and was unable to write this line. Yet Krishna, eager to proclaim his submission to the power of the all-conquering love, personally appeared to complete this verse. So in conclusion, I just want to speak a little bit about our process, our path. For the sadhak in Rag Marg, he has rag for following a certain saki. He has interest, attraction. He's attracted to their moods, to their conversation, to their interactions with Krishna. And when he hears about these fill him with happiness. So this is, in the beginning, we may be reading Krishna book, and we may be reading 10th canto, the Vraj pastimes. So the way to practice is to follow the way of the gopis. Aradhya Bhagavan, in this verse, really this is the, the foundation of our Krishna consciousness. That do some of the Vaishnav just say, okay, just remember the gopis and worship the gopis? No, this verse is really giving the praman that this process must be done. Because our goal is Vrindavan, and Lord Chaitanya taught the prayojan, which is Radha Krishna Prem from Golok. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, when one devotee wrote a letter to him, was asking that, "Oh Prabhupada, occasionally when I chant japa, I remember Radha and Krishna. Is that all right?" And Prabhupada replied, "Yes, you have understood. This is the goal, to chant and remember." And also in one purport, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says that one should practice living in Vrindavan by continually hearing the talks of the gopis with Krishna. So today we touched one jewel, one drop of Geet Govind, which is one of those beautiful books that by hearing and reading, we, by the grace of Guru and Gauranga, may develop some attraction. And by hearing these pastimes, that why is one of the reasons why lust is all freed when we hear these pastimes is because we remember that Radha and Krishna are the supreme enjoyers. We are not the center. So our focus is always on them and serving them. And this purifies this selfishness, this enjoyment mentality. Because we're always, again, realigning ourselves with the highest principle. Also here is Gopal Guru's place of bhajan. He was a disciple of Vakeshwar Pandit, one of Mahaprabhu's close and well-known associates. Gopal Guru got his name from Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya would go to the bathroom and he would be holding his tongue between his teeth, and Gopal Guru, who was just a young boy, said, well, why are you holding your tongue? And Mahaprabhu was saying, well, because, I don't want to contaminate the holy name. And then Gopal, who that's what his name was at that time, said, well, what about those people who go to the bathroom or have to do things like this and die? Are they going to be unfortunate? And Mahaprabhu said, no. What you said is correct. So now your name is Gopal Guru. And he had a disciple whose name was Dayan Chandra. And lastly, a very beautiful Leela with his guru, Gopal Guru, and Dayan Chandra was that after Vakeshwar Pandit left this world, Gopal Guru took over the Gambhira. And Gopal Guru, when he was becoming older, was wondering who is going to look after this Gambhira, which is called also the Radhakant Mat. And in a dream, I believe, that it was said that don't worry, the first person you meet tomorrow will be that person who will look after the Mat. So the next morning, he met Dayan Chandra, and when Gopal Guru left, he looked after the Mat. In fact, when Gopal Guru left and Dayan Chandra was looking after the Mat, there was some problems, some difficulty. And he was figuring out what to do, how to do it, and because his guru had gone, he was perplexed. And then some devotees came back from Vrindavan and said, oh, don't worry, your guru's there in Dhira Samira, just ask him. And Dayanand Chandra was amazed. He's there? No, but he's left. So he went immediately to Vrindavan and saw his guru. And he said, Gurudev, you're here. I thought you had left. His Gurudev said, no, this is the magnificence of Vrindavan. And he then said, don't worry, everything will be sorted in the Radhakant Gambhir, and everything will be clear for you. Just go back. So they were all very high-class Rasik Vaishnavas. And today, coming here in Dhira Samira is very special because we're able to hear about these pastimes and pray at our Gurudev's lotus feet that one drop of this nectar may come to us. We can serve these leelas and remember them. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhivaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
So thank you very much, Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaj, for that very beautiful description of Dhira Samira. Such a beautiful pastime. So now we're going to just walk close by to the mandir of Gopesvara Mahadeva. And here, this is a very ancient temple, and the history goes practically back 5,000 years. So I'm going to read a little bit from our Vrindavan Parikrama book from the second edition, where hopefully I think most of the corrections have been made, and about Gopesvara Mahadeva, and then I'll interject with different things as I'm reading through. So in Gopesvara Mahadeva, it's described that in Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahadev Shankar, the god of gods, has been called the foremost Vaishnava, Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. Gopesvara Mahadeva, I'm not reading now from the book, I'm just going to say something. Gopesvara Mahadeva, Srila Gurudev has described, is Krishna's first, or simultaneous to his first expansions, coming from Krishna's right-hand side. He manifests from Krishna's right-hand side. And Sri Radha, she manifests from Krishna's left-hand side, Swarup Shakti. Swarupini Sri Radha. She manifests from Krishna's left. So Gopesvara Mahadeva is manifesting there to protect the Rasa Leela. And there's a very beautiful pastime describing that I'll speak in a few minutes. But we should understand that Shivji has 4 features or 4 aspects, 4 pastime aspects that he performs. The first and most potent is Gopesvara Mahadeva, where he protects the Rasa Leela, and he's manifested directly from Krishna in order to fulfill that task. And his second feature is within the Vaikuntha area, within the spiritual realm, and that is called Sada Shiva, eternal Shiva. And Sada Shiva resides in the eternal Kailash with his eternal consorts. So this is Sada Shiva, this is the eternal Shiva. So there's 2 Shivjis on the other side of the Viraja river in the spiritual realm. Lord Shiva himself manifests directly from Krishna, as do all the other avatars of Krishna. Baladev, Kurma, Varaha, Matsya, Nrsingadev, they all manifest directly from the body of Krishna. They are called Swa. Swa means own. Angsa. They are parts of Krishna's direct manifestations coming directly from his body. Krishna is called the Anksi. He's the origin. And from his body, all the avatars, all the other avatars are manifesting. And Shivji, he is also a Swa Amsa, the same as all the other avatars. He's manifesting directly from Krishna's body, yet the distinction with Lord Shiva is that he doesn't feel or doesn't have that mood, that bhav of being the Supreme Lord. We see Nrsinga, Kurma, Matsya, Varaha, etc., Parashuram, they are like the Supreme Lord. They have their planets within the Vaikuntha realm, and they are the full embodiment of the Supreme Lord. Shivji also is, yet he takes the identity as being a servant of the Supreme Lord. He doesn't take the identity as being the Supreme Lord himself. Shivji, he relishes the mood of seva to Sankarshan and Lord Ram. He relishes this mood of service. So Shivji's tattva is not easy to understand, as are the avatars and the different personalities. Shivji is a little twisty. He's not so straightforward because he doesn't have that godlike conception of himself, even though he is, in fact, on the same level as the other avatars. So he is called Swa Amsa Abbas. He's Swa Amsa, but he's Abbas. He takes the dim shadow of that Swamsa mood. So this is the mood of Shivji. He's always in a mood of servant. He's the greatest servant of the Vaishnavas. Vaishnava Yatha Shambhu. He's the greatest servant. So I've just described two features of Shivji. There's Gopesvara Mahadeva, the original identity of Shivji, manifesting directly from the body of Krishna. Then the second is Sadashiva, within the spiritual world. And then when Krishna wants to manifest this material world and this material pastime to demonstrate his Karuna Shakti, then through the agency of his Purusha avatars, through Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Shiradakshay Vishnu. So in order to do this pastime, Shivji again, he takes part in this pastime. When Mahavishnu or Karnadakshay Vishnu glance towards the material energy, Krishna's shadow potency, Maya Devi, Karnadakshay Vishnu, he glances there, and it's described that within the seed of that glance is time and the jivas, and this is impregnated into the material pradhan. The pradhan is described as the unconglomerate mass of energy. It has no cohesiveness. It's just like the womb of a mother before she's been impregnated. She has all the ingredients to produce a child, but until she's actually impregnated by the male, then there's no question of her ever conceiving a child. Similarly, the material energies, the material elements, the pradhan, they're there in an uncohesive form. But until that seed has come from the glance of Mahavishnu, Karnadakshay Vishnu, and impregnates that womb of the pradhan, then nothing can transpire till that happens. So it is Shambhu, this third aspect of Shivji, that carries this glance, carries that seed into the womb of the pradhan, into the womb of the unconglomerate material energy. And as soon as that seed enters the material energy, then immediately the three modes of material nature are activated, because within that seed is the embodiment of all jivas and the time factor. So as soon as time, past, present and future, come into consideration, then immediately the three modes of material nature are activated. In the spiritual world there is no time, so the modes of material nature are not working, they're not manifesting in the spiritual worlds. So this is Shambhu's service to carry, that he's described as the halo of that glance that is coming from Mahavishnu, Karnadakshay Vishnu, and impregnates the pradhan. So this is why we always see the Shiva Lingam. This is the male phallic symbol, and the yoni, the female symbol, is at the bottom of that lingam. So we see this is the nature of the cosmic manifestation. This is how it manifests, which is incredibly wonderful to consider. But it's Shivji who does the activity of carrying that seed from Mahavishnu, that glance, into the womb of the pradhan. So this is a very powerful activity, and this is performed only by such a powerful person as Shambhu, in service to his divine masters and to facilitate Krishna's manifesting his compassionate Shakti, his Karuna Shakti, to the jivas. So this is described as the cosmic manifestation. So Shambhu certainly plays a very significant role in that activity of creating all the different planets and so on. So that's three aspects of Lord Shiva. There's Gopesvara, Sadashiva, and Shambhu. And the fourth feature or aspect of Shivji is when Lord Brahma, while he's creating the different planetary systems and populating them, his first progeny are the 4 Kumaras, or the 4 great sages. And Lord Brahma has instructed them to propagate the planetary systems. He needs to populate the planetary systems, but the Kumaras, or the sages, they decide in their meditation that they don't want to do this activity. They want independently to meditate on the Supreme Lord. They just want to do this with their lives, and they don't want to serve their father the way that he had requested them. So this is, of course, quite a disturbing thing for Lord Brahma, their father. So he became most angry, and he tried to suppress this anger, because he was recognizing this anger is coming from the mode of passion. So he was trying to suppress that anger that was rising. But that anger came out from between his eyes. It came out in the form of a very small little black baby who began to cry and weep piteously. And this is Rudra. Rudra is born from Rodra. Rodra means anger. So he's born from the anger of Lord Brahma. So he has many qualities that are likened to anger. For example, it's described in the Bhagavatam that when you see the dark storm at night on the ocean, and it's very tempestuous, then that darkness and that storm is a reflection of this Rodra feature of Lord Shiva. Also, it's described if someone has heat stroke or sunstroke, this is also another aspect of that Rodra feature. So there are many descriptions in the Bhagavatam about this manifestation of Shivji. And when he cried, he requested his father, "Oh, you please tell me, where is my place? What will I do? What is my seva?" And initially Lord Brahma said, "You should create progeny and fill the planets." And Shivji, he began to do that, but they were all ferocious, like Shivji himself, and began to cause a great disturbance. So Lord Brahma requested him, no, you should just do tapasya. You should not create progeny, because of course the progeny were all like him. So Lord Shiva, he began to perform austerity to satisfy his father, Lord Brahma. So it's described in this world that Lord Shiva, he has 55 qualities to the greatest extent. The jivas, they have 50 qualities to a very minute degree, a minute percentage of 50 qualities, whereas Lord Brahma and Shiva, they have an extra 5. But Shivji has those extra 5 to a greater percentage than Lord Brahma. Shivji is more potent, more powerful even than his brilliant father. So this is the nature of Lord Shivji. So the Vaishnavas, traditionally, we always honor Lord Shivji. We see all of the acharyas. Sanatana Goswami would never live anywhere which was too far away from a Shiva Lingam. He worshipped Bankandi Mahadeva in Vrindavan. And Aishishva Mahadev was worshipped by Rupa Goswami in Terkadamba near Nandagaon. And in Nandagaon itself, where Sanatana Goswami also had his Bhajan Kutia, he was worshipping Nandishwara, the hill that the village of Nandagaon, Krishna's home, resides on. He resides on the top of Shivji's head. So Nandi, Shivji's bull carrier. So that personality, Nandishwara, is the person who controls Nandi. So that Ishwara of Nandi is Shivji, of course. So Sanatana Goswami would worship that form of Shivji in that place. So throughout our scriptures, there's so much reference to honoring and glorifying this tremendously gentle personality, and so favorable towards the Vaishnavas. Of course, when he is angered by the non-devotees, then his wrath is very strong. So that's something of the tattva of Gopesvara Mahadev. His tattva goes on quite extensively, but this is a parikrama that we're on today, so we'll just hear briefly that explanation. So now I'm going to continue reading something from the VRAJA-MANDAL Parikrama book. So Gurudev is saying that he and Bhagavati Parvati are always absorbed in meditation on Krishna's eternal eightfold daily pastimes, Astakalya Lila. We also see, by the way, of course, that my beloved Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, loved Lord Shiva so much that he built that beautiful place in Durvasa, which is, of course, Shiva's expansion, Durvasa Rishi. Once during Sri Krishna's manifest pastimes, Sankar desired to take darshan of Krishna's captivating Rasa Lila with his own eyes. Being eager to do so, he came directly to Vrindavan from Kailash. At the gate outside Vrindavan, some attendant gopis stopped him, because no male except for Sri Krishna can enter the rasa. But since when has Shankar easily agreed to anything? He asked the attendant gopis how he might be admitted, and they told him to satisfy Bhagavati Yogamaya Purnamasi with his worship. Sankar followed their advice, and after arduous worship, he received darshan of Yogamaya. Knowing the desire of Shankar, Purnima took his hands and dipped him in the nearby Brahma Kund. When he came out of the pond, he had been transformed into an extremely beautiful young gopi. Purnima seated Shankar, now a gopi, inside a kunj, northwest of the Rasastali. She told him to behold the Rasa Lila from there, and then she disappeared. After a short time, the Rasa Lila began. The gopis thought, today, for some reason or other, we are not feeling any happiness in singing and dancing. They understood that some outsider had entered the arena, and they began to search for that person. In their search, they came to this place, where they saw a new, unknown gopi sitting in a kunj. They caught that new gopi and began to question her. What is your name? What is the name of your village? Who is your husband? Who is your father-in-law? But the new gopi was unable to answer any of their questions. Instead, she could only cry. Yogamaya had neither arranged her birth from the womb of a gopi, nor given her any name. The new gopi was not married to any gopa either, so that answers could not be given. When the gopis received no answer, they began to slap her cheeks till they became swollen. Seeing Mahadev's misery, Purnamasi's heart melted. She went there and explained that this gopi was an object of her mercy. She requested the gopis and Krishna to be merciful to her. Sri Krishna, knowing the internal desire of Purnamasi, gave Shankar the name Gopesvara, and granted him the boon that a sadhak would be unable to enter Vrindavan, especially into Krishna's sweet pastimes there, without first receiving his mercy. The Goswami literatures also describe that at the time of Krishna's manifest pastimes, the gopis worshipped Gopesvara Mahadev with the desire to obtain service to Krishna. For instance, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Brajavilas Starva, verse 87 states, I'll just read the translation, to obtain the jewel of being embraced by the arms of Rajendranandan Shyam Sundar, the gopis who possess firm, loving, intimate attachment for Sri Krishna joyfully worshipped Sadashiva with great devotion and had all their internal desires fulfilled without delay. Daily I worship that Gopesvara Mahadev who resides on the bank of the Jamuna. So this is by Raghunath Das Goswami, saying his prayers to Shankarji, Gopesvara Mahadev. The pranam mantra from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sankalpa Kalpadruma, text 103 for Gopesvara Mahadev clearly indicates that Gopesvara Mahadev is the bestower of unadulterated Krishna Prem. Vrindavanavani Pate Jaya Shoma Shoma Mole Sonaka Sanandan Sanatan Naratedya Gopesvara Brajavilasi Yugandri Padme Prema Prayacha Nirupadi Amo Namaste. O gatekeeper of Vrindavan, O Soma, all glories to you. O you whose forehead is decorated with the moon, and who is worshipful for the sages headed by Sanaka, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Narad. O Gopesvara, desiring that you bestow upon me prem for the lotus feet of Sri Radha-Madhav, who performs joyous pastimes in Brajadam, I offer obeisances unto you, time and time again. So this is something of the description of the beautiful Gopesvara Mahadev that we're having darshan of today. There isn't another deity of Shankarji Mahadev in this form in the world. There's only this one original Gopesvara Mahadev, and that's in this place where we're visiting today. Practically every single village of Braj, and there are hundreds and thousands of villages in Braj altogether today, they all have somewhere a Shiva Lingam. Everywhere you go, you'll find a little temple with Shivji being glorified and celebrated. But you don't find Gopesvara Mahadev, except on the altar of Rup Sanatan. Srila Gurudev wanted very much to honor Gopesvara. So right there in Sevakunj, he has a beautiful murti of Gopesvara Mahadev right next to the altar in Rup Sanatan. So we remember Gopesvara Mahadev every morning in Rup Sanatan in our prayers, and we are always grateful for Gopesvara Mahadev's support and nourishment in our practice to reach our final destination of being able to render service to Srimati Radharani in Vrindavan at some time. So Gopesvara Mahadev ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So now we're going to proceed to Vamsi-vata, which is practically right next door, conveniently, to Gopesvara Mahadev. Gopesvara Mahadev is situated there because, of course, the Rasa Leela, the first Rasa Leela, the principal Rasa Leela that we hear about, took place here at Vamsi-vata in the Sarat Punima, was when it began. So Gopesvara Mahadev's place of residence in Vrindavan is right next to Vamsi-vata. So we just walk a very small distance, a few hundred yards, and we come to the beautiful courtyard, most attractive ancient courtyard of Vamsi-vata. And it's described that, I'll read a little bit here from the Parikrama book, describing something of the history about Vamsi-vata, and then I'll describe some more of the pastime here. So Gurudev describes, this is the place where the youthful couple Sri Radha and Krishna, together with the Sakis, perform their pastimes of rasa as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, the pure and faultless scriptural authority. To bestow the result of the Katyani Puja upon the young unmarried gopis, Rasik Bihari, Sri Krishna granted them a boon. To fulfill this boon, he played a sweet tune on his flute on the full moon night. Hearing the wonderful flute song, the gopis, intoxicated in prem, came here. And then Gurudev begins to describe this. So when Krishna played his flute, of course, now I'm just speaking, not reading. When he played his flute, the flute had the potency to enter where no other male could ever enter. And Krishna knew this, and this is why he had such a friend as the Vamsi. So that flute, it entered the very core of the gopis' hearts. And as soon as they heard that flute, their purvarag, their anticipation mood of separation, had built to such a pitch where they were practically ready to burst out of their bodies. So as soon as that flute song came into their hearts, requesting them, "You must come to me immediately. I am at Vamsi-vata, and we will sing and dance together." This was the message that they heard through the flute. But Krishna was saying in his flute song that I will leave my body unless you come. Krishna was beseeching and begging the gopis to come for his own pleasure. It wasn't that he was calling the gopis to fulfill their desires exclusively. He was wanting to fulfill his own desire. So now Gurudev describes one beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam. This is from the 29th chapter of the 10th canto, verse 4. I'll just read the translation. The young women of Braj heard the sound of Krishna's flute. This sound, which reinforces amorous feelings, captivated their minds. Each, unknown to the other, they went to where their lover Krishna waited. Because they moved so quickly, their earrings swung back and forth. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes that this flute song had robbed the gopis of their sense of morality, their sense of shyness, their sense of respectability. All of this had just been robbed by the sound of that flute song. But as they ran, and it's described that their earrings swung back and forth, it was apparent that that thief was not interested in any material objects. He wasn't wanting to steal their earrings. So they still had their earrings swinging on their ears, as it's described in this verse. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he humorously comments like that. And then when the gopis, they reach Krishna in that place at Vamsi-vata, on that full moon night of this Sarat Purnima, in the beautiful atmosphere of Vrindavan, which it was so intoxicatingly sweet with the aromas of so many flowers, and there was beautiful sounds of the forest evening time. And when the gopis came, Krishna, he welcomed them. Swagatam, swagatam. He welcomed the gopis. But then he began to question them. Why have you come? So when they were called by that song, Krishna, he asked them, what can I do for you? Now you've seen me, you should return. This whole sequence is leading up to the second Geet of the Bhagavatam. There are 5 Geets, as I've described before. The first is Venu Geet. The second is this one that we're about to describe, Pranaya Geet. The third is Gopi Geet. Then there's Yugal Geet. Then there's Brahmara Geet. So that these 5 Geets. So this Pranaya Geet is what we're about to hear now. Then Krishna instructs the gopis. He says that the duty of a chaste wife is to serve her husband. If the husband is poor or weak, rich or ugly, he should be served by his wife. Leaving the husband is very sinful. So now return home. So Krishna had been instructing the gopis like that, who had sacrificed everything to be with Krishna. We talk in this world about Sharanagati and giving up our various material attachments. But the prime principal example of this is the gopis themselves. They left absolutely everything that was sacred to a young girl in Braj. Their chastity, principally, their reputation, their shyness, all these qualities they left behind in order to be with Krishna. So this is real Sharanagati. But now the gopis, unlike we heard the other day the story of the Brahmanis who went to Krishna in the forest and requested to stay with Krishna, but returned home after Krishna sent them home. The gopis, they are not like that. They have known Krishna since childhood, so they are more fearless with Krishna. So the gopis, they respond. And these verses I'm going to read now are the verses of the Pranaya Geet. So the gopis respond to Krishna's cruel words of sending them home. They say, by giving us instruction, that means that you have become guru. Guru should be served before anyone else. If guru is not accepting seva, then there is a fault in the guru. You have said you are God, and you have also said, Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tathaiva prachamyaham, that as they surrender unto me, I will reciprocate. So we are here, your gopis. We are serving you, so you should reciprocate too. Otherwise, you will be at fault. And then they say, also you said, sarvadharmam parityaja, that by giving up everything, all dharmas, and come to you. So we have done this. We have surrendered. We have given up all dharma conceivable, and we have come to you in the middle of the night. So you have to reciprocate. Otherwise, you will be acting against your own words. And then they say, by your melody of the flute and your sweet words and sweet face, you called us. Why you called us? Like deer, we came. We came like the dear creatures of the forest, and we ran to the sound of that flute song. Now you say, return. How can we? You have taken our hearts. We are gopis, the same gotra, dynasty as you. We have the right to see you. No one in the whole world can remain in their dharma after seeing your beautiful face, seeing your sweet and hearing your sweet flute sound. So this is what they're responding to Krishna. Then they say, hearing your flute, the cows, the bulls, the calves, the birds, the trees, the creepers, the bamboos, the deer, they all leave their own natures and act in an opposite way to their natures. The cows become stunned, the birds become like stone, the trees, they bow down, and blossom pours like honey out of the trees, as if they were weeping. Normally, when deer see someone, they run away, but now they stay. Rocks melt, and the rivers stop. This is the impression of your flute. This is all because of your flute. So the gopis are throwing back to Krishna that he is the one responsible for this situation, not them. They haven't just run out to see Krishna. Krishna has called them deliberately. And now Krishna is being so cruel to them and ordering them back to their homes. This hurt the gopis' hearts. It's described that they were scratching the earth with their toes, and they were praying at this time to Mother Bhumi, Mother Earth, to please open up and take us into your arms. In other words, let us commit suicide rather than even entertain for a moment this idea of going back to our husbands. That would be like a vantasi. That would be like taking vomit, eating my own vomit, going back to my husband. There was no way the gopis were going to go back. They had genuinely cut all their ties with their family by rushing to the forest. They said, we are young gopis, soft-hearted, and by playing your flute, you've altered our normal moral dharma and changed us like you have changed everything else. Whose fault is this? If all these other entities change their dharma, then why not we change our dharma? Our dharma is very chaste young girls. But you have changed our dharma by your flute song. So when Krishna heard these bold words coming from the gopis, he was very, very pleased. Krishna arranged this situation to bring out the speciality of the gopis praying for himself. One dynamic between the gopis and Krishna is that they're always hoping that the other person is going to make the proposal rather than them. They're waiting for that mood to come. So Krishna was wanting to hear the eagerness in the gopis' hearts to stay with them. But the gopis at the same time, they also want to hear Krishna's eagerness to see them. So it's like a competition between the two. This is the nature of ras. So when the gopis came to that place at Vamsi-vata, Vamsi is the flute and Vat is this Ashwata tree, which is a huge banyan tree. And this tree was enormous. It's described that its limbs went across the Jamuna, just as the Vamsi-vata in Bandirvan we went to the other day. Its limbs also ran across the Jamuna. So this Vamsi-vata was also like that, a huge, very beautiful tree. So it was in that very place, in this very place where we are now, that the beautiful Rasalila began. And of course we know the pastime that Radharani, she had to be fixed as the queen of the rasa. So in order to arrange that, she had to leave the rasa stali. And Krishna pacified her at Sringaravat, we heard the other day. And then the beautiful Gopi Geet was sung. And then Krishna appeared, and then he submitted to the gopis at that time and fulfilled all their desires. And then he says this most famous verse, Na pariyeham niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibhudyasyapiva yam abhajam durja geha shrinkala svangvishchaya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna. So Krishna is saying that I cannot repay you for all of your surrender. You have cut all the bondage to material life, which is very hard to give up. I can never repay you, even in a lifetime of Lord Brahma. I cannot repay your debt for this surrender. So just by saying that verse, Krishna melted the hearts of the gopis. They were completely satisfied because they had been parched in the desert of separation, lamenting profusely. After Radha left, they had been in high separation. Then when they met Radharani, they became in even higher separation. Then their Gopi Geet is filled with nothing but moods of the most heart-rendering separation feelings towards Krishna. So when he came and appeased them with this very beautiful verse, then immediately, just by looking at his beautiful, charming, smiling, beautiful lotus face, and hearing these words where Krishna was acknowledging his indebtedness to them, then they became melted in affection and attraction towards him again. More so. And then the Rasalila began. And the Rasalila, of course we know, lasts for an entire night of Lord Brahma. It's described that time becomes compressed, but it seemed just like a moment for the gopis. And they danced, and they had beautiful sticks and flags, and it was a very festive dance. And every song conceivable, every raga was manifested during that Rasalila. 8,400,000 ragas. There's a raga for every species of life, and all those ragas were sung during that night. It's described how Vrindadevi, she becomes the audience of that rapturous dance. Somebody has to clap, somebody has to cheer when the gopis are doing such splendid dances and poses and so on. So Vrindadevi, with all her duties and sakis, they came and they would clap, and they were witnessing, they were like the audience. So the musical arrangements were incredible at that time during that Rasalila. All the personification of the musical instruments, they all manifested there. But even above the sounds of the instruments was the ching, ching, ching of the gopis' bracelets and their anklets. The beautiful coordinated harmony of all their jewelry was in rhythm, in harmony with the melodies they were singing. And of course, all their melodies were even higher than all of that sound of the musical instruments and their ankle bells and so on. Their singing is described that they sang fully from their hearts. And Krishna also, he reciprocated with this. So this is something, a small picture of the Rasalila, which is described, of course, as the crest jewel of Sri Krishna's pastimes. So we hear something of these topics Of course, these topics are most confidential and are most relished in smaller groups when we're hearing these, but Srila Gurudev has described these topics to us in great detail publicly, because this was his mission, to again reawaken Rag Mag within our hearts, to not let it become covered over by any conception of Vaidhi Bhakti. So this was the mission of Srimati Radharani, to send her dearmost Manjari Sevak to this world, Sri Raman Manjari, to come to this world, to gift us a insight into this crest jewel of all Krishna's pastimes. So this takes place at this very place where we are standing today, beside the Jamuna, in the shade of this huge Vamsi-vata. So this is very beautiful. So now I'm going to read a little bit from the Gurudev's VRAJA-MANDAL Parikrama book, just to conclude this pastime. So Gurudev writes that Sri Krishna's great-grandson, Sri Brajanava Maharaj, planted a tree here in remembrance of this place of rasa. But after some time, the Jamuna flooded that place. More recently, 550 years ago, Sri Madhu Pandit, a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, took one of its branches and planted it here, and that branch transformed into a vast tree. Sri Madhu Pandit found the deity of Sri Gopinath here while engaged in bhajan. There are 4 very small temples in each of the 4 corners of the quadrangle wall of Vamsi-vata. The deities of Sri Ramanujacharya, Sri Madhavacharya, Sri Vishnu Swami, and Sri Nimbakacharya were established within them. Nowadays, some other deities have replaced them. Gaudiya Vaishnavas used to serve here, but then Brahmachariji, the spiritual guide of the king of Gwalior, bought this place. Since then, it has been in the care of the Nimbaka Sampradaya. So the Nimbaka Sampradaya, glorifying Krishna's pastimes in a slightly different way to the line that we follow from the Madhavacharya, the Brahma Madhavacharya Gaudiya line, but nevertheless they are maintaining that place. So all the yatris and the pilgrims can go there annually or daily, if we have the fortune to live in Vrindavan, and absorb ourselves in this atmosphere of this Rasa Leela pastime. This Rasa Leela, as I've just said, was the crest jewel of all Krishna's pastime. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has said, don't let this Rasa Leela description fall into the hands of the Sahajiyas or the Babajis. This Rasa Leela is the property of the Gaudiyas. So we must understand this with proper siddhanta and correct following of the principles that Rupa Goswami has described, and what we've heard from our Rupanuga Guru Vargya. So it is our property, so never neglect to hear about this beautiful pastime, because it will carry us to the highest conception of sweetness between Radha and Krishna and the Sakhis and the Gopis. Shri Vamsi-vata ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. There was one place that I neglected to mention while we were in Gopesvara Mahadev, that right beside Gopesvara Mahadev there's a Kund. This is Brahma Kund, and this was the Kund where Punamasi gave Mahasankar the form of a gopi by dipping him in this Kund. Sri Vrindadevi also gave Narad the form of Naradiya Gopi by bathing him here, thus fulfilling his desire to take darshan of Maharas, which is very difficult to obtain. There is an Ashok tree on the northern side of this Brahma Kund, which blossoms with flowers at exactly noontime on the Dwadasi of Vashaka Sukla. Only extremely fortunate Rasik Bhaktas, however, can behold those flowers. No one else. This is stated in Varaha Purana. So this is a little excerpt from Srila Gurudev's description of Brahma Kund. When we go there today, it's been very nicely renovated by the local Brajbhumi society, and they've built beautiful steps and gardens, and the devotees can walk around and have a very nice darshan of this kund. But this is a very powerful, sacred kund. All of these places are so powerful and sacred. So now we're going to take a little bit of a walk. It's not very far, it's perhaps a kilometer, maybe a little bit more, to the Sri Govindadeva Temple, where Rupa Goswami installed the beautiful deities of Govindadeva and Sri Radha. So again, I'm going to read a little bit from Srila Gurudev's VRAJA-MANDAL Parikrama book, and I'll interject it with some comments that I've heard from our Guru Vargya about this Govindadeva temple. So Srila Gurudev writes, the present name of this temple is Sri Govindadeva, and its ancient name was Goma Tila. Tila means hill, and Goma means mother cow, because this is where Rupa Goswami discovered the beautiful forms of Sri Govindadeva. Sri Rupa Goswami used to perform sadhan bhajan in a small hut behind the temple of Sri Radha Damodar in Sevakunj. On the order of Sriman Mahaprabhu, he composed different literatures on bhakti, like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjvala Nilamani, while living here. Also, following the instruction of Mahaprabhu, he wanted to manifest the deity of Sri Govinda that had previously been installed by Sri Brajanava. Govindadeva, of course, is the Ishtadev of Abhideya Tattva, and Rupa Goswami is the Acharya of Abhideya Tattva. How do we practice this path of sadhan bhajan? Sanatana Goswami has established what is Sambandha Gyan, what is our relationship with Krishna, what is our relationship with the material energy, what is our relationship with other jivas. So this Sambandha Gyan was established by Sanatana Goswami, and Rupa Goswami is establishing the Abhideya. Daily, Rupa Goswami would perform the 10-mile parikrama of Vrindavan. One day, during his parikrama, he became very restless, thinking about the deity of Sri Govinda. He sat under a tree on the bank of the Jamuna and wept, yearning for his darshan. At that time, a beautiful Brijabasi boy, who was also doing parikrama, walked past. He saw Sri Rupa Goswami weeping under the tree, and he asked him why he was crying. At first, Rupa Goswami said nothing, but when the boy persisted, he revealed to him the pain in his heart. The Brijbasi boy brought Rupa Goswami to Goma Tila and said, "Please listen. Every day, just before noon, one cow comes to this mound and irrigates this place with the milk from her udder. I think that your desire will be fulfilled here." Seeing this, the boy immediately disappeared. Thinking of the beauty and sweet words of the boy, Sri Rupa Goswami fainted. Upon regaining consciousness, he called the neighboring Brijabasis, who very carefully dug up the earth at that place. There, a little under the ground, was Sri Govindaji, more beautiful than millions of cupids. They bathed the deity with great ceremony. News of this spread quickly, and crowds of people gathered to take darshan of Sri Govindaji. Sri Govindadev is Vrindavaneshwari, the Lord Ishvara of Sri Vrindavan. In the Skanda Purana, Varaha, and other Puranas, it is said to be Vrindavan's Raja Rajeshwari, the king of Raja Rajeshwari, the king of kings. Sri Govinda is thus the worshipable deity of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states, at the Mahayog pit in Vrindavan, beneath a desire tree, is a golden throne bedecked with jewels. On that throne, Brajendranandan, Sri Govindadeva, the transcendental Cupid, is seated. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 116 also states, Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Radmagara Shimasan Sto Shri Shri Radha Shila Govinda Devo Pristalabdi Savya Mana Smarami. I meditate upon Sri Radha Govinda Dev, who are seated beneath a desire tree on an effulgent bejeweled throne in the supremely beautiful land of Vrindavan. There they are always being served by their beloved Sakhis, especially by Lalita and Vishaka. Now Gurudev continues, there are many famous statements regarding Sri Govinda in different scriptures. For instance, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.8.20 states, May Sri Keshava protect me with his club in the morning hours, and may Sri Govinda, who is holding his flute, protect me in the second portion of the day. A commentary on this verse nicely elucidates its meaning. In the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Purvakand text 38, it is said, Tam ekam Govindam Satchidananda Vigraham. You are Govinda, and your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. The Vedas glorify Sri Govinda in the following verse. This is another verse. Gopaleva Govinda Prakat Parkasha Sada. And then Gurudev goes on, he doesn't give a translation for that verse. It's saying the Artha Veda says, Gokularanya, Mathur Mandal, Vrindavan Madhye Sahasra Dala, Madhye Sadala, Shera, Govinda P, Shyama, Dvibaujo, and so on. Furthermore, the Skanda Purana states, then there's another verse here, and this is quoting Sri Narayan Bhatta Goswami, also mentions Sri Govinda in the following verse of Braja Bhakti Vilas. I pay my respects to Sri Govinda together with Vrindadevi. He is the personification of the Supersoul and the destroyer of the sins of mankind. I'm continuing reading here. Before Sri Rupa Goswami's arrival in Sri Dham, Vrindavan, it was unheard of to place a deity of Srimati Radhika beside a deity of Sri Krishna. It so happened that a deity of Sri Radhika, who was present in the temple of Jagannath in Puridam at a place named Chakrabeda, was being worshipped by everyone as Lakshmiji. Sri Radhika instructed the father of Maharaj Prataparudra, Purushottam Jana, in a dream, I am not Lakshmi, I am Radha, the beloved of Rajendranandan, Sri Krishna. I am waiting for the manifestation of Sri Govindadev in Vrindavan. When he appears, please send me to him with great care. This deity, along with other deities of Srimati Radhika, was later sent to Vrindavan with Sri Janava Thakurani. And the contemporary Goswamis placed this deity of Sri Radha to the left of Sri Govindadev. After being united with Srimati Radhika, Sri Govinda became famous by the name of Sri Radha Govinda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally sent his own deity form, Sri Gaura Govinda, to Vrindavan with his associate Kashishvar Brahmachari. That same deity is nearby in the southern part of the Govindaji temple. In 1590, a disciple of Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Maharaj Man Singh of Jaipur, built an extensive 7-story redstone beautiful temple, as inspired by his holy master. In 1670, the tyrannical Mughal emperor Aurangzeb demolished this temple, destroying the top 4 floors. When he was in the process of destroying the lower part, he suddenly received some news of some calamity and had to return to Delhi. Thus, the lower portion of the temple was saved. Before the temples of Vrindavan were destroyed, Sri Govindaji and other worshipable deities of the Gaudiyas were sent to Jaipur. In 1748, the Pratibhu Vigraha of Sri Govindadeva was installed nearby here. Then, in 1819, Sri Nandakumar Vasu constructed the present temple. Situated in this temple is Sri Govindadeva with Sri Radhika to his left. The ancient and original Govindadeva, along with his beloved Radhika, now reside in a temple near the royal palace of Jaipur. So many of us often visit Jaipur just to see the beauty of Radha Govinda. Their artis there are splendid, and their mandir is very extensive, and their worship is being performed in a very beautiful way. And so many of the residents of Jaipur are totally enamored by the beauty of Sri Radha Govinda as we see them during their various artis. So the devotee should hope that they'll have the fortune to visit the original Radha Govinda deities in Jaipur at some time. So Gurudev continues, Sri Rupa Goswami jokingly forbids the darshan of Govindadeva with the following words: if you have even a slight desire to enjoy life with your wife, sons, relatives and friends, then listen to my advice. Never go to Keshigat in Vrindavan, even by mistake. There, Sri Hari, as the deity of Govinda, is standing in his charming threefold bending form, smiling. Raising his eyebrows, he looks here and there with slightly crooked eyes. His yellow cloth, pitambar, is shimmering on his body, and he is decorated with a heart-stealing garland of forest flowers and bunches of fresh young leaves. Ah, the flute, the root cause of all troubles, is gracefully placed to his lips, and the peacock feather on his head is increasing his beauty. A person who even once beholds this deity of Govinda with his own eyes never returns to his home, and his household life is ruined. Therefore, O worldly jiva, be cautious, never ever go towards Keshigat. Likewise, an unthinkable disaster may occur. So Rupa Goswami has written like this, in glorification, in fact, of the stunning beauty of Sri Radha and Govinda. So these deities, of course, were excavated by all the Goswamis. They came here and they spent their lives in discovering these deities that had been originally installed by Brajanabha, and then erecting them for our worship and honor today in the world to inspire our devotion towards Radha and Krishna. So we're most fortunate to come to this wonderful temple of Radha Govindaji. You see, it's very high inside. It's enormous. We have big kirtans running up and down the passageway in between the altar and the doorway. It was designed to hold thousands and thousands of people. It was a very splendid, wonderful temple. And still we have the remnants of that temple to remember how beautiful Radha and Govindaji were honored and worshipped at the time of Rupa Goswami by their sevaks. So Sri Govindadev ki jai, Sri Radha Govindadev ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. So now we'll go in procession with our Sankirtan party, and we'll wind through the streets and come back to Gopinath Bhavan to take our lunch prasadam. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupa Nuga Guru Vargya ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Vanshakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.